This is a video on the conditionals of English. Basically, we're going to be using the word if and situations that have cause and effect, where there is situation A, cause, effect B, situation B, and the outcome, which will be C. So there are many forms of conditionals. We've got the four key forms, the zero, the first, the second, and the third. The number system correlates to the conditionals themselves. So if you say first conditional, we use the first verb form, present simple. Second conditional, the second verb form, past simple, or V2, whatever you want to call it. And the third conditional, V3, or past participle form. So we've got the zero conditional as well, which is for situations that are laws, facts, general truths. The first conditional for real situations, things that happen in time and in place, real situations. Second conditional are imaginary situations in the present or future. The third conditional are imaginary situations just in the past. And then mixed conditional, second and third, are imaginary situations with both cause in the future or past and the effect either in the future or the past. So sometimes we have to mix them together. So let's have a look at the zero conditional. The zero conditional expresses unlimited cause and effect, and it's 100% always true. So the cause is with the effect 100% of the time. The outcome of the cause and the effect in unlimited causes and effects, unlimited conditionals, or the zero conditional, is 100% always true. That's why there is an infinitive sign swirling on the screen. It's a general truth, so it's not limited to time and place. For example, if you heat water to 100 degrees Celsius, it boils. This is generally true. It's something that will happen every time. Every time you boil or heat water to 100 degrees, it will boil here on this planet anyway. It's a general truth, or if you like, it's a law of nature. So we use the present simple in the cause and the present simple in the effect. Here's another example. Whenever you exercise your mind, it gets stronger. This is a general truth. So we're using the present simple in the cause and the present simple in the effect. And the connection word here, or conjunction if you prefer, is whenever, which basically means every time. Another example. If kids are not disciplined, they become ungrateful and unhelpful. That's a general truth. It's just something that's generally true all the time. Once again, you've got present simple in the cause and present simple in the effect. Okay, but what about the first conditional? In other words, causes and effects that are limited to situations or limited to time and place, real situations. These will be causes and effects that are real, and the chance of these things happening, the chance of the effect happening, I should say, is 100% or less. So maybe between 80 and 100%. If we quantify it, it's somewhere around there. For example, in a real situation, if you have a dog, and a real situation, and you massage the dog's head, he will become relaxed. This is a general truth, but it's I'm talking about the situation right now to a friend in a time and in a place. I'm not talking generally about the dog. I'm talking, for example, at 4:30 p.m. on Saturday afternoon to my friend in a real situation. And the chance of this happening is very high. I know it's high because I know the dog, for example. If grandma plays guitar, grandpa can rock and roll. I'm not talking about any grandma and any grandpa. I'm talking about my grandma and my grandpa. So this is a real situation limited to time, place, limited to the situation being me and my life and my grandparents. So you'll notice that the present simple is in the cause and a V1 modal is in the effect. V1 meaning like a present modal instead of a past modal. So can as opposed to could. So you need the V1 modal, not the V2. For example, will rather than would. You would need the V1 will, not the V2 would. You can also use might. in these conditionals as well, in the first conditional. Let's have a look at another one. If you knock down the first domino, the balloon will light the candle. So we've got present simple in the cause and a V1 or present modal in the effect, because it's a situation that is very likely to happen. We're talking about a real situation. Let's imagine we're in a room with this contraption and I'm discussing it in real time and in real place with you. It's not a general truth. If you overfill the mug, it will overflow. Notice we're using the definitive article the, which means we're in a real time and in a real place, and there is a physical mug present in the room, and I'm talking about a real situation, not a general truth. So we're using a modal in the effect because we're in a real time and a real place. I'm not speaking generally. And the chance of it happening is very, very high. It's 100% actually. Okay, let's talk about imaginary situations. The second conditional uses the second verb form, which is the past simple, but we're not actually talking about the past, so don't get confused. The second conditional expresses imaginary situations, therefore the chance of them happening is like 0 to 35% if we can quantify it. So the chance of the effect happening is very, very low. So we're expressing an imaginary situation through cause and effect. So why do we do this? The second conditional allows us to make an implication about something, and your mind can create an inference. So how does that work? What does implication mean? Well, the cause is the A situation and B would be the effect situation. If you put the A and the B together and then you add that situation to your mind can produce another idea, which is C, an inference. So the implication comes from the cause and the effect, and the inference is what your mind develops from the cause and the effect, which would be situation C. So you don't just have explicit meaning A and B, you also have implicit meaning situation C from your mind. How does that work? Let's have a look. Okay, you can imply with the second conditional two key ideas, possibility and regret. So for example, possibility is a situation might be different than it is now somehow, or regret, a situation would be better than it is now. And we're talking once again imaginary present or imaginary future, the second conditional. Let's have a look at some examples. If he went to a psychiatrist, his mind would be analyzed. We're using the past simple or V2 because he's not going to go to a psychiatrist. The chance is very low. What I'm implying is that it would be a good idea because, in my opinion, his mind needs to be analyzed. Here's another example. If he could live his life over, he would be more courageous. Now, he can't live his life over, or the chance of him living his life over is very low. So we're using the past simple or V2 if you prefer. So he's actually had his chance at university, he's got his career underway, and for him to go back to university and change his life would be a huge undertaking. So it's probably not going to happen. So we're using the V2 form, and the conditional is the second because the likelihood is very, very low. He's not going to change his life, but he's expressing, or I'm expressing, that it might be a better situation. If he was a stripper, he would make a lot of money. Now in this situation, he's definitely not going to become a stripper, but he's imagining how much money he would make if he did become a stripper. So the implication is that strippers make more money than this guy. Let's talk about imaginary past situations where the chance of the cause and the effect happening is 0% because we can't change history, we can't change the past. These are the third conditionals in which we use the past perfect and the present perfect. Okay, once again, the third conditional expresses implication and inference. Again, it's not just explicit cause and effect. There's also a C situation. So there's the cause A, the effect B, and these things are fed into the mind, and the mind produces another situation, which is C. So you can develop your own idea from the third conditional, and you can infer meaning, if you like. So the cause and the effect gives you an implication, and your mind creates an inference, situation C. So what does that mean? Well, in the third conditional, you might express two key concepts. It could be gratitude. A situation was better than you had anticipated, so you might be feeling thankful to someone or thankful to the universe or God. And you might also express regret, and this is a situation was worse than you had anticipated, and if you could go back in time, then you would change the situation to make it better. So once again, third conditional can express gratitude and regret. For example, if I had not left the lid off the coffee, it would not have gone cold, which basically means I'm an idiot. I should not have taken the lid off the coffee because now it's cold and I like hot coffee. So the implication is that I did a stupid thing, and I wish that I could change the situation, but I can't because I can't go back in time. Okay, so notice the grammar. Past perfect in the cause, present perfect in the effect after a modal. The rule is modal with the basic form, so I cannot use anything other than a base form of a verb after a modal. For example, would, wouldn't, plus have. That's why we use the present perfect in the effect, or one of the reasons. And also, usually cause is before effect, and past perfect expresses the first action in a sequence in the past. Okay, another example. If I had kept watch over the toaster, the toast would not have burned. So I'm implying that I did something stupid, and if I could change the situation, I would. If he had taken the blue pill, he would not have lost his mind. But in reality, he took the red pill and he did lose his mind. But unfortunately, he can't go back in time and change the situation. So there we've got the cause in the past perfect and the effect in the present perfect. If he had not wasted his life on social media, he would not have become so lonely and depressed. He's definitely expressing regret. So the implication is regret. In reality, he spent too much time on social media, and then everybody started to ignore him, and now he's sad and unhappy. Okay, grammar analysis. We'll analyze the grammar for the zero, the first, the second, and then we'll go into the mixed conditionals, where we combine the second and the third conditional at the end of the video. Okay, the grammar for the zero conditional. Remember, the zero conditional expresses things that are always true, general truths or laws of nature, for example. So the conjunction could be whenever or if, and remember, whenever means every time. Subject with the present simple, that's the cause, and the effect is subject and present simple. Notice there is no modal in the zero conditional, and there is a 100% chance that the cause and the effect is going to happen. Okay, if you heat water to 100 degrees Celsius, there is a 100% chance on planet Earth that the water will boil. That's the nature of water and heat on Earth. Okay, for example, every time or whenever he reaches the top, he adds another Gatorade. We can see from the GIF that this is 100% true. We can anticipate that he's going to add another Gatorade every single time. So it's present simple cause, present simple effect, and no modal. Okay, let's look at real situational grammar. The first conditional expresses a real situation where the chance of the cause and effect happening is very high. So maybe 80 to 100%. So we use the conjunction if or when, the subject, the present simple form, or V1 if you prefer, and then the effect has the subject, a V1 modal, for example can or will. You could use might or must as well, or shall or should, and then you must use the basic form, because after a modal you need to use the basic form of a verb. Okay, let's have a look at an example. This is a real situation in which maybe I'm talking to a child, my child, or someone young. If you save your money, you can start a business. I'm talking directly to somebody I know in a real situation, and I'm telling them about the reality of life. It's not a general truth that applies to anyone. I'm talking directly to one person in their situation, in their life. So this is actually a real situation and a real person, a direct communication between a first and a second person. And the chance of it happening is very high. Okay, so the grammar of the second conditional this time, imaginary situations. This time we're using the past simple, not to express the past, we're trying to express the imagination. Remember, we are making an implication and allowing someone to make an inference. So there is implicit meaning here, not just explicit meaning. If subject V2, that's the cause, subject, a V2 modal with the basic form is the effect. Examples of V2 modals could be could or would. You could also use might or must or should in these second conditionals as well. But remember, the chance of this happening, the chance of the situation happening is very low, 0 to 35%, if you can quantify it, maybe around there, very, very low. Let's have a look at an example. Let's say this lady's at the beach and she has a fear of the water. But what I want to tell her is that if she inflated the flamingo, she would get into the water and have no fear of the water because it would keep her safe. But she has too much fear and she's not going to follow my advice. So I know this isn't going to happen because she has too much fear. So I'm going to use the past simple verbs to express an imaginary situation in the present. Let's look at the third conditional, imaginary past situations. The connection is if, or the conjunction if you like, subject, and then the past perfect is had, and the third verb form, PP if you prefer. And then the effect is subject, a V2 modal like would or could, and then the present perfect. So you need have and the third verb form again, or PP if you prefer. Again, there is a 0% chance of this happening because we can't change the past. So remember, we're expressing maybe regret or gratitude through the third conditional. Let's have a look. If she had checked the weather, she wouldn't have gotten wet. This is definitely regret. The reality is she did not check the weather, and the effect is she got wet, and that is something regrettable. She regrets the situation. So she's imagining the opposite of reality because the opposite of reality would be better. So that's regret. Okay, finally, we're going to look at how to mix the second conditional and the third conditional in various ways to express perhaps the cause in the past and the effect in the future, or the cause in the future and the effect in the past. So we can mix the second and the third conditional to convey what we need to convey. It allows us some flexibility because we don't always just talk in the past or the present or the future. We do mix things up because that's life. Let's have a look at some examples. So this is the grammar. You can mix them in these ways. So the cause might come from the second conditional and the effect might come from the third conditional. So that basically means the cause could be now or in the future and the effect could be in the past. Or you might put the cause in the past and the effect in the present or the future. So you can do either way, do it either way. So again, with the yellow arrow, the cause would be in the present or the future and the effect would be in the past. And with the green arrow, the effect would be in the present or the future and the cause would be in the past. So it's the opposite. Just remember that if the original idea in your mind is positive, the conditional is negative. Remember, the negative expresses the opposite of reality and the positive as well. So if your situation in reality is positive, the conditional should be negative, and vice versa, because second and third conditionals and mixed conditionals express the opposite of reality. They don't express reality. Well, let's have a look. She didn't check the weather forecast is reality. The effect, so she's all wet now. This is reality. Let's take this sentence and use a third and a second conditional to re-express the statement. So the effect would be she's all wet now, and the cause she didn't check the weather forecast. that looks like the cause is in the past, third conditional, and the effect is now second conditional. The cause: she didn't check the weather forecast. The effect: so she's all wet now. So how can we re-express that with the second and third conditionals? Well, the cause is going to come from the third conditional, past, the effect from the second conditional. This is how it works. She wouldn't be all wet now if she had checked the weather forecast. Let's look at another example. He left the lid off his coffee. So now it's cold. So that's regret. The cause is in the past. He left the lid off the coffee, and the effect is now. So once again, we've got cause from the third conditional and effect from the second. And this is how it works. Cause: he left the lid off his coffee. Effect: so now it's cold. I can take this reality-based sentence and use the second and third conditionals to re-express it, to imply meaning, to imply regret, perhaps. His coffee would not be cold now if he hadn't left the lid off. It's like implying that he's an idiot. He shouldn't have done that. He should have known better. Okay, another example. His mind is damaged. Why? Because he took the red pill. So let's have a look at the cause and the effect. The effect: his mind is damaged. The cause: because he took the red pill. Notice the conjunction is be verb plus cause, and so is effect. So I know that because means the cause. Alright, so that looks like the effect is in the present and the cause is in the past. So the effect will be from the second conditional and the cause will be from the third conditional. Let's have a look. His mind would not be damaged if he hadn't taken the red pill. That's regret, definitely regret. Okay, he didn't go to the party because he has to work tomorrow. So the reality is work, unfortunately. So maybe he's feeling a little bit sad because the party sounded like a better idea. So he wants to imply meaning. Maybe he wants to call his friends and express that he would prefer to be with them at the party than go to work. But reality is you have to pay the bills, you got to go to work. So the cause and the effect. Effect: he didn't go to the party. The cause: he has to go to work tomorrow. So if he's on the phone and he's telling his friends why he didn't go to the party, he might use the second and third conditionals to express that. So this one's a bit different. The effect is in the past this time and the cause is in the future. So we've switched it around. Let's have a look at how this works. If he didn't have work tomorrow, he would have gone to the party. So he's implying that he would prefer to have gone to the party than to work. But unfortunately, he could not afford to take a day off work. Okay, and that's the zero, the first, the second, the third, and mixed second and third conditionals all wrapped up. And that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching.